Okay, so I'm going to show you how to mount a Hummer tire with a run flat onto a 2-piece 16.5-inch wheel. So this works with tires with run flats, without run flats. There's just a couple other steps with the run flat. And it works with 12 bolts and 24 bolts. It's the same setup. So basically the first thing you have to do is find something that picks the wheel off the ground. So at least a little bit, so the tire ain't hitting the ground. If you mount it on the ground, it just makes it a little harder. So you can use a block of wood, basically anything that'll just hold the wheel up. This is just a wheel that fits inside that I put towel on so it doesn't scratch up the wheel. So once you have that done, then you can grab the wheel, top half, and 12 bolts have centering holes on them. Put the hole, line it up, and this only matters for the run flat application. So then you mark where the valve stem is, and then I put a mark on top, because in the run flat there's two grooves that line up with the valve stem. So there's two grooves, you can use either one. So I'll just put a mark where the groove is so I know where to line it up. Because if you don't have it lined up, the valve stem will hit the rubber and it won't air up. So next, you take tire lubricant. Dawn dish soap works basically the same thing if you don't have tire lubricant. And I rub it on the wheel all the way around. I do it on the inside of the run flat. So if you're mounting the tire without the run flat, you don't have to worry about where the valve stem's going or mark anything. Doesn't really matter. But it's just for run flat applications, you have to have the groove lined up. So then you have to have somebody come and help you pick it up. So then you can line your two marks up that you have on the wheel and tire. And you push it down firmly. So I have the two marks lined up, so your groove is going to line up with the valve stem of your faceplate. Next, you want to grab your O-ring. Never put the O-ring on first, just so you don't have a chance of hitting it. Put the O-ring in the groove. A lot of times these O-rings, they have a tiny bit of stretch you just have to give them. I mean, it's just a little bit. Just to get it to stretch and fit tightly in that groove. If you stretch too much, you're kind of shit out of luck. So just do a little bit at a time. Get it to line up. So then I use slime tire sealant. It has nothing to do with sealing the tire. It just works for a little bit of lubrication for putting the O-ring on, so the O-ring can slide into place and doesn't get pinched before it falls in its groove. You don't have to use much. You can mount without it, but it does really help push it into the right spot. Just a little bit. But it doesn't hurt the O-ring at all. Grease is not good for the O-ring. This stuff I've found works good. Doesn't affect the O-ring's longevity. And it lets the O-ring slide into the groove it needs to. So then once you have that all set, you can take some more lubricant or Dawn dish soap again, whatever you have. Put some on the inner bead. Make sure your bead is kind of straight with the run flat. Then you take your wheel. So the 12 bolts have the centering hole again. And then you make sure your valve stem's lined up with your mark. Just kind of push it down tight. Next, you take your nuts, screw them on. I use a 1/2 inch air impact. Anything smaller doesn't have enough power. The electric impacts, I think, have too much power. I think you could probably use them. Just, you have to be careful not to tighten too hard. But the air impact works the best for me. So what I do is I'll tighten this till it starts snugging the plate. Go to the next one across. Do that till it snugs the plate. And then go in a cross pattern with just those 4 until the whole plate is flat and tight. Once I have that done, I go with the rest of them, tighten those down till they're tight. If you have your air compressor and it's a smaller one, wait for it to cycle out again so you have full pressure, and then go through one more time and go another 1/4 turn. And then that is usually perfect. You don't need any more than that. Probably put hearing protection on. I don't have it on because it's too hard to talk with ear protection in. The other thing, so if you have a 24 bolt, you still do the cross pattern. But if you run into an issue where one nut strips out, you don't have to take the whole rim apart again. Just get that nut off. You can pound out the valves or the stud when it's still together. You just have to be careful not to hit your faceplate and pound a new stud in off the back. And then bolt that one down tight. I shouldn't have to show how to air up the tire. If I have to show how to air up the tire, you probably shouldn't be doing this. But then that's it. You air it up to your desired PSI, you can check for leaks, and that's how you mount one of these things up.